Good day everyone, my name is Sitarahan Makaga and today we'll be continuing the discussion of matuan in tools and modern and emerging trends in English language teaching. Now we have here the table of contents or the topics that we will be discussing. First we have the TPRS. I don't know if you don't know about this, but yes, this exists. Second, we also have green ELT. From the word itself, I think you might have a prior an idea of what it is all about. The next one is what we call the life skills. Of course, we are teaching without integrating life skills. Fourth, mediation. We'll be talking about this. Next, we have gamification. Of course, you already know this, but yes, we will still be discussing this. Then we have also embodied learning, and lastly, the inquiry-based learning. So we'll be talking about this because we are teachers. We are also that, and we are obliged to learn the trends or the new methods and approaches that enable us to enhance our teaching strategies, and also that is matched to what is currently a trend to the world of education. So first let's start. We have what we call the teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. This TPRS is a language teaching method that focuses on developing proficiency in a foreign language through storytelling and reading. It was developed by Blaine Way in the 1990s. So you might ask yourself why this method or this approach why is it included? Because it was said here that it was developed in 1990s. Well, it doesn't mean that if an approach is created or founded, discovered a long time ago, it doesn't mean that it can't be used. It can be used in this 21st century. Blaine Way, this TPRS, there is a difference between the traditional approach and the modern approach it has when you are going to apply it. If you're going to differentiate between the two, the traditional approach is just you can imagine a classroom where the teacher is just talking. He's only reading or storytelling. The basic imagination you can imagine, the basic picture you can imagine to those teachers is just talking. Well, if you're going to put this in the context of the modern approach, you can see a teacher that is, yes, of course, it may that he is talking, he's storytelling, but at the same time there is an engagement with the students. There is sort of techniques that he used in order to engage or to have an interactive environment within the classroom. Now we have here an examples of the way teachers implement the approach. First we have the storytelling, of course. It is the title itself. Then yes, there is a storytelling, but it doesn't really require only the teachers to do the task. There could be an event that the students will be retelling the story. Next, we also have storytelling with props. Of course, with the advancement of technology, there might be an intervention of using ICT tools such as televisions, music, videos, and even digital tools that help students to engage or to learn more about the story. Next, we also have story construction. You can make students create their own stories or interfere with stories. Second, is what we call is of course role play. You are not just teaching cognitive level, but you also have to target what is the psychomotor skills of the students. You can do role plays to like for them to integrate what is the context of the story. And lastly, the story illustration. Yes, you are not. You can make them create art, show them their creativity, show them their creativity, and not just about these the text, the literary text to read, but also for them to imagine or like to use their um, creativity to the story. So we also have here an applications that you may use or like the students may use in order to like for example we wanted them to engage with the um, platforms and online platforms. We have here the Storybird and Book Creator. Now all of these things in TPRS is that if there is like involvement of the ICT tools, it it will be better. So moving on, that is what we call the teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. It really focuses on the comprehensible input to the students. It allows them to have a contextual learning and engagement, and also to improve their proficiency in the language. Next, we have what we call the green English language teaching. Environmental topics in the ELT classroom can include topics such as climate change. So, climate change is sustainable development, renewable energy, and etc. Yet approaches to teaching related to the climate crisis that must be an imperative trend to follow in 2023. So, it doesn't mean that we are an English language teacher when we are ought to focus on the grammar and vocabularies on this language. It is also an imperative for us to learn to teach students on like the climate change crisis, the social issues that is happening currently in the world. We may put topics or like lesson. It's not topics on how we on what we teach to students. So how can we? First, we have here we could do environmentally themed materials. Um, we can use like for example, we may give an example. We can use article that is related to climate, so we can give them to students as an activity, and um, we may make them critique it or analyze it, not as a science learners, but as an English language student. Next, we have eco vocabulary in discussions. Also, we can add unfamiliar words or like scientific words from our discussions or like from our to our quizzes and exams, just like that. Then we also have green projects. We may want them to do clean drive and also environmental literature. So environmental literature, there are some literary texts that talks about environment, maybe like the road not taken by Robert Frost. It may, but doesn't really. But still, there are some literary text poems that talks about it. You can also give students a task that is like, for example, creating a poem about the climate, the society, or the climate of their local areas, just like that. And we have also outdoor activities if you are not like if you are not lazy to put students to nature walks, then you can do that. Then we also have green language learning games. Same with those environmentally themed materials. And lastly, sustainability projects. And the same also with the green projects. So therefore, in this trend, there is really an intervention with how can we take care of our world, like particularly our environment. So how can we be one of those students who make changes with the world? We create students that have an impact, a big impact to our society. So we are not just teaching them again the language, but we're also teaching them how to be grown individuals. Now we also for the applications or like the technology tools we may use is the virtual reality and augmented reality, but I don't think this is available to in our country. So we just have to, you know, you just have to remain or stay on those what is available to our institutions. Next, what we have is the life skills. Of course, life skills is very significant skills that we must teach to students. Life skills are often referred to as soft skills, 21st century skills, or transferable skills. They include skills such as communication, social, academic, critical thinking, problem solving, digital, and work. So, like, we are not just we're not just teaching the English language, but we also have to teach them, what can be learnings that can be integrated to the reality situations. So we have here first the digital literacy. It is essential that we must teach students what are those digital literacy or the ethics on using digitals, but it doesn't mean that you really have to dig upon those topics. But you just have to put little or like bit of those less topics in our lessons. Second, we also yes, communication skills. The primary objective of teaching the English language is to use this as a communication skills. So yes, this is really important also. And we also have here critical thinking and problem solving. Yes, it activates the students' critical thinking and problem solving skills, then creativity and innovative again, yes, of course, then teamwork and collaboration. Now the difference between the traditional the traditional way of teaching and the modern way of teaching today is that before there is no such peer engagement, but today we have collaborations, we have pair work activities, group tasks. So it is good that we teach students to work not only with themselves, to work not independently, but also we shall teach students to be like to need others, to need others, and to collaborate with their classmates. Then we have time management organization. You can give them an assessment like creating a to-do list, and you may that they can yes, of course, this is essential to them, and how they can manage their time and organize their just those mathematics related skills, and also adaptability and and resilience. Yes, in this adaptability and resilience, you may give them a long-term activities, like for example, a research. It really tests their patience. It really tests their resilience. And those activities that requires them to finish in a long time, in a long, yes, time. Then lastly, emotional intelligence. Really, this type of intelligence is one of the, like, for me, the best, the thing that, like, the thing that we shall teach students, because at the end of the day, they really can use it. It is not only, it is not only beneficial inside the classroom, but after they graduate, or inside their rooms, inside their house, to their friends, to their families, they really can use what they have learned in you as a teacher. So all of this, we may give an example, like we may provide an activities, particularly we could do public speaking, debates, discussions, research, and we could go the literatures, and to give them problem solving skills, make them analyze, make them reflect, and make connections, create connections to a particular lesson. That's what we can do to teach them life skills. Now we also have here a, an online tools, Canvas and Moodle. Okay, so we're moving on. That is all for life skills. Next we have the mediation. Mediation in the context of English language refers to the ability to act as an intermediary or go-between in communication uh, between speakers of different languages, helping to facilitate understanding and communication. So in mediation, you can imagine that you are a bridge to someone that doesn't speak the English language, for them to 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 deliver a message to those, like you can just imagine a translator, just like that. That is a mediation. How do we teach this? First, we do we make students interpret and translate. We can give activities that is, you know, um, provide them the first their first language and translate it to English. Then we also have multilingual resources, yes, especially in literature. We really can learn from their own, like from the different languages or the different cultures of these different people. Next, the vocabulary building, yes. Then summarizing and paraphrasing. We make students summarize and paraphrase and clarify and explaining, of course. It activates their critical thinking again, and please make them learn about about using the language and this cultural mediation. Again, through literature, we make students culturally aware. And lastly, yes, role play and simulations. We can do this to make an effective, or like a long to make an to make long retentions to students. The use of mediation skills primarily targets the communication skills of the students. It foster their English language, which is a crucial skill for high school learners preparing for future academic and professional endeavors, of course. Then it is also, targets their cultural awareness again. It allows students to explore different cultural perspectives and linguistic nuances, promoting a deeper understanding of the English language and its cultural context. And lastly, it you know it enhances their problem-solving skills. It exercises develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills as students must analyze and resolve language-related issues, preparing them for real-world challenges. You just can imagine, like for example, a role play that is giving an interview or like helping a person who doesn't speak English, just like that. So we have here in this side of the PPT a language applications, the Google Translate, of course you already know that, the Duolingo and the Google Docs. So that is all about the mediation. Just have to imagine that you are a helping hand to someone that has a language barrier to other person. Or maybe you just cannot think of that. You just have to keep in mind that English language is an essential language to communicate. That's all. So moving on. Yes, gamification. So gamification is the use of game elements and game design principles in non-game contexts to engage and motivate individuals to achieve specific goals or tasks. So we have already do this. In our first day in LE141, we we did a game and it's called Squid Game. So that is what we call gamification. Like the, like the basic or like the common knowledge on what is education inside schools is that like there's no game at all, because game are for only in amusement parks or in the parks. But here in the 21st century trends, it is important that we insert gamification learning, because students today are more into games. And and if you're also going to ask me, I wanted gamification as as a strategy to to get the attention of the students and provide a retention, and at the same time and enjoy an environment to the classroom. So here you have those things we can do. First, we have language learning apps and platforms. We can use these platforms such as Kahoot, Quizlet, and Classcraft if this is available and accessible for students, and the internet connectivity allows us, so we may use this. Second, we have the language challenges and competitions. We may have them. Of course, gamification is all about competition or like challenges. So we may give them games that allows them to activate their competitive 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 spirit. Then we also have interactive language games. Yes, again, we must do or give tasks that requires group collaboration and cooperation. Next, we have role-playing and simulation games, then storytelling and narrative games, escape room challenges, and yes, the rewards and incentives. It is the most important part in the mechanics of giving a game. Teacher shall give a reward and incentive for them to motivate to be inspired on this type of game that you wanted to give them. And also it increases their eagerness, or like again their competitive spirit, their um their critical thinking, and many skills that requires them to win the challenge. And lastly, again, the collaborative language projects. We may do this to students. So yes, it doesn't only revolve on using the ICT tools, but you can, if your teacher have a Scrabbles, like the Scrabble game, you can bring this to school and use it as their game. Well, there are many things. Gamification, you just like you can do whisper challenges. You can do what we have what we did in LA 1 360, like the message or like the drawing delivery, drawing relay, just like that, or many others. So gamification targets their motivation and engagement. It makes learning enjoyable and interactive, motivating these students to actively participate in English language lessons. Then there is also an instant feedback. Gamified activities often provide immediate feedback, enabling students to correct their language errors and improve their skills in real situations. And lastly, it it enhances competitive. It's not enhances. It caters competition and collaboration. It allows students to compete with peers or collaborative on language challenges, fostering a sense of achievement and teamwork. So you really can see here the dependency or the 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 teamwork of those students. If this game is like a group task or like group related activities, so that is the gamification. This is like one of the most effective tools or like the most effective strategy we can use to teach English language. Now it is essential for us to know that in all these approaches, in all these methods and strategies, we are using English language as the medium of instruction, at the same time the language or like the language of the students, because that is how we teach them the language. They shall be used as communication skills inside a communication medium inside the classroom. Next, we have the embodied learning. Um, embodied learning is based on the idea that learning involves using mind and body collaboration. So, in embodied learning, you can have but there is like three level learning level. We have the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. In embodied learning, you as a teacher is not only um it's not only reaching what is called cognitive domain, affective domain, but at the same time you have the psychomotor domain or like the combination of the three. Like from the word embodied, it's like the mixture or like it's like the combination of all this domain in order to provide a greater retention or like greater learning to students. So here it is not just based on remembering. Learners should be physically and socially and at the same time emotionally engaged to the lesson. We can have a total physical response. We can do like those things that we do in motivations, like Simon says sit, Simon says stand, Simon says walk, just like that you know those activities that requires their whole body to work. Then role play and drama activities, of course. Greater retention. You must give students role plays and these activities that allows them to use their whole body, their emotion, their physical being, and at the same time their their talents. And next we also have physical games with language integration, yes. Then storytelling with movement, of course. Then kinesthetic spelling and grammar drills. We can make students to spell the word P, so they just have to do movements to spell the word P, just like that. And English through dance and music. So we can also engage or like collaborate with dance and music to teach the English language. We can make them um, compose a song, compose a lyrics, do a dance choreography that is like the language of the music or the language of the dancing is English. And that is how embodied learning, those activities that allows them to use the their their whole body. Yes, so we have here the tools we can use, the ICT tools, the virtual reality and augmented reality, but again it is not available to our country, I think. Therefore we use what is available or like convenient to us, to the teachers, and also at the same time to the students. So embodied learning enhance memory. This involves physical engagement, which can improve memory retention. These high school students can recall language and concepts more effectively when they physically act them out. Yes. Then we have improved language fluency. It enhances language fluency by associating words and phrases with physical actions or gestures, making it easier for students to express themselves in English. And lastly, it promotes inclusivity. Embodied learning can accommodate various learning styles and abilities, of course, ensuring that these learners can participate actively in language acquisition. So what is good in embodied learning is that it caters the the types of learning styles and the types of intelligences that our students acquire or have. So we move on to the last approach. This is what we call the inquiry based learning. We have already talked about it, but still we will going to discuss it. Inquiry based learning means learning in a complex world. It also encourages the students to use their life skills, perspectives, and use real life stories to motivate children. So that is what we call inquiry based learning, particularly dig their minds or use their minds in learning the language. We have here student led research projects, literature exploration and analysis. This is, I think, one of the best interesting way to teach inquiry-based learning or in emotional intelligence, of course, the literature exploration, and also at the same time the history of the English. We can do that here and analyze literary text, poems, short stories, novels, and maybe other things. We need students to interfere with these literary texts. Next, we have language detective activities, then debates and discussions, language history and evolution, just like what I have said. In comparative language studies, we make students research on this different languages. For example, the first language and second language, or like the English language, and not the same. Uh, the first language, like like the way we teach students that Maranao is the sentence structure of Maranao is verb noun, but the English is noun verb, just like those basic things. And lastly, the language and culture projects. The language and culture projects. So, in inquiry-based learning, we ought students to do the learning, or like to 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 find the learning. So here, students are required to have a critical thinking. This encourages students to ask questions, of course, research, and think critically. It promotes intellectual growth and the development of English language skills in problem-solving context. It also provides them the autonomy. Yes, this approach empowers students to take ownership of their learning, enhancing their motivation and independence in acquiring English language proficiency, and lastly, their relevance in real life. Inquiry-based learning context learning connects English to real-world issues, preparing students to use the language in meaningful contexts such as research, problem solving, and communication. So in inquiry-based learning, what we really can see here is like the pressing attention, or like the pressing attention, the pressing engagement to the student. So it's like here we can see that the student, it is student centered. They have the autonomy what they learn. they are they are the explorer. They are the, the one that discovers what they learn. So that is the good thing in inquiry based learning. Here we have a Google workspace, an example of an inquiry-based learning ICT tools, particularly Google and those websites that gives them information to what they wanted to find. So that is all to my part of the discussions. And yes, all of these is possible with or without the ICT tools. If you have the ICT tools, if this is convenient for you, if this is available to your institution, and it is at the same time accessible to your students, you can use it. However, if these ICT tools is not there, are not there to to aid you as a teacher, then you as yourself, you teacher, is the important is the important ICT tool. If you don't, like, teacher itself is the medium, or like the aid to yourself. So yes, that is all. The English language is not just language. It is not just about grammars and vocabularies. It is not only like a language. It is a communication skill. It is a communication tool that we must learn in this growing society. It is like at the end of the day, we must give students the impression that I I am thinking, mom. You know we make students uh like learn, or like realize that English is really important, especially in these times of, so like everything, social media platforms are there, and the primary communication, or like the primary language there is language and English, and they're able to understand what is the content of those social media platforms. So I think that is all we make students that are language proficient, and at the same time grown individuals. So that is all of my part and the end of our lesson. Thank you so much for listening, and may Allah guide us. Goodbye.